Alright, what's up y'all, it's LakerFan here. As we're about to title today's video, we're here to ask, what is the best attribute rating in NBA 2K24? So, as you can see, we are ranking them all the way from 1 to number 22, and we have every attribute listed, as you would see it in the builder, from finishing to shooting to playmaking to defense into the physicals as well. So, I hope y'all enjoy the video. If you do, for to drop a like, sub if you're new to noties, all good stuff, and like always, try to win to 2,000 likes. Alright, so I was wondering what I should do with this video, whether I should start all the way at 22 and go up to number 1, or start from number 1 and go to 22. And in this one, I'm feeling spontaneous. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start from number 1 and go down to 22. So without further ado, we're gonna get straight into this, and as you can see, in the top 3, we have the mandatories, in my opinion. Now, ironically, I don't find three-pointer to actually be a mandatory rating, so it's a little bit, ironic that I do put it here. But for the majority of people who play this game, whether you're a point guard, a lockdown, a big man, even for most, people will generally just put three-pointer on their build no matter what. Whether it's from a level of mid to high 70s all the way up to low to high 90s for that matter, and even sometimes can rock out with like a 65 and get the job done too. So overall, from low three-pointer to high three-pointer, as a value rating and just what it's worth as far as the power of the rating, three-pointer, in my opinion, is ranked number 1. Now, if you want to talk about necessity, obviously we have then things like speed and stamina. Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, should ever make a build that doesn't max out its speed to its height, unless you're maybe a small guard. So let's say, like, when you're a smaller guard, you have obviously the ability to go all the way up to like 94 speed in some situations, maybe even 99. But it's not reasonable to try and afford stuff like that. So in this year's game, with speed now allowing you to get things like speed booster, 92 is like the level you can get for Hall of Fame, and that seems like a really elite level of speed if you're talking a guard. For lockdowns though, if you're making a 6'8 lock, you generally, I would say very much so, want to max out your speed. For centers, you absolutely should be maxing out your speed for whatever weight threshold you decided to hit on your build, and same goes for obviously like, the height, weight, wingspan combo, whatever you did for it. It makes sense to max out your speed. I don't think you should ever be a 7-foot center and have 25 speed. That makes no sense, obviously. So everybody in this game who makes a build values speed. That's just kind of a common commodity that you're gonna have when it comes to video games in general too. Obviously, there's things like Madden that are absolutely important, and speed is gonna be one of your top thresholds as far as the ratings that you want to hit with that too. Now, stamina is a big deal in my opinion too. So in a grand scheme of things, sure, you could argue that like anything at like 85-ish stamina can get the job done. In my opinion though, it's so cheap, it makes no sense not to upgrade it, and I would just say 99 makes sense, or max makes sense for almost any build you make. Now, I will say, you're going to see me be a little bit of a hypocrite in this video because I have free throw ranked pretty low because I just don't think it's that valuable of a rating. Whereas, with stamina, if you don't have this at an elite level, I think you are going to struggle in this game no matter who you are. It's not the same way that speed and three-pointer work, where you can just settle for a 75 rating on it and just be okay with it. And those are the top 2 ratings I even have on this list. So when you settle for 75 stamina, I think you're trolling, 100%. I think you should be hitting 90 no matter what, 95 in most cases, and 99 to 98 if you want to be like a dribbler or a guard. That's just my take on it, that's my opinion, and it's extremely cheap, so we have it ranked number 3. Also, if you guys didn't know, I'm pairing up with the NBA 2K Lab this year, so you can use code LAKER for 20% off at checkout at their website. That's NBA2KLab.com. On this website is all types of really good statistical jump shot information. You can also test the jumpers on their website too. Plug the controller straight into your phone or to your PC. You can get early, green, late. It'll tell you where you need to adjust on that jump shot, or if you don't know what jumper you want to run, you just go to their jump shot recommender, you punch in your height, the jump shot rating that you're working with, and then based on the milliseconds of timing that you get, it'll recommend you a jump shot. So again, if you want to use code LAKER for 20% off at checkout, that's NBA2KLab.com. Appreciate you guys, and we'll get back to the video. Alright, so next up we have a couple luxury ratings. So these are ratings that are absolutely dominating the game right now in 2K24, but it's not like you can't just not live with them. Obviously, people can get away with not having standing dunk on a guard, people can get away with not having mid-range on a big, or like, even for guards for that matter, some people are okay with just putting 3 and dunk and stuff like that on their guard. But when it comes to the power of these ratings, if you decide to lean into them, like pure locks with steal of 91 plus or 96 for the, like let's say the Hoff right stick ripper and Hoff interceptor, or obviously if people even do go for Hoff glove, boy is it a ridiculous rate. That's insane. And then 98 mid-range builds are dominating the game, even 92 for the Hoff mini magician, or 93 to get crazy badges if you're maybe someone that has a lower 3-point rating, or even just 86 mid-range for, once again, great badges, and to be able to get like mini magician at 84 on gold. I mean, all this stuff. Mid-range is killing the game in this year's game, and it's absolutely dominating, so don't sleep on this by any means. And then for standing dunk, in case you guys haven't seen, the standing dunk meters are out of this world in this game, and I have to speak to the power of them 100% because people may, take it with a grain of salt. They may just see I'm doing it and think I'm trying to gas it up. It's not the case. It's actually a dominating factor of this year's game, and I can't just let you guys not know about it if you haven't already been in tune with this. Now, if you guys are, familiar with the channel of what I've been posting on here, you're probably well aware that I know and standing dunks are insane. So it being a little bit out of the top 5 and at number 6 right here is not a ridiculous thing, in my opinion, by any means. All right, so next up, we have 5 ratings being unveiled right here. We have perimeter defense, driving dunk, ball handle, speed with ball, and driving lay. So we have 2 in kind of the same family tree of being ball handle and speed with ball. So point guard, ball handle related, if you want to say a point forward as well, or even bigs can still utilize stuff like this as well, with even the low rating thresholds of ball handle and speed with ball being very important in this game, like 40 for instance for the normal SIGs, or obviously you have different thresholds. Driving dunk is actually something that's been on the come up with this recent patch, and obviously also one that came a couple weeks ago of them buffing open dunk meters. Boy, are dunks looking actually kind of insane. Now there's an issue that we'll get to. I'll kind of go in order of talking about these ratings and stuff like that, so we'll get to that in just a second. And then, like I said, we have driving layup coming in 11th, which I think is respectable. It might even be a little bit underrated, as layups are just in general, to be honest. So I hate to be the culprit that keeps on making them underrated and not giving it the power that it probably deserves of maybe a top 10 rating or something like that. But anyway, let's start to describe some of these ratings here. So perimeter defense, very necessary. I think if you're making even a big build that has less than, I would say, 50 prim, I think you're tripping. Personally, I think if you go with a 25 perimeter defense, you're making yourself a liability, on some Rudy Gobert in the playoffs type beat, where if you go against 5-out teams or teams that put you in pick and rolls and force you to guard people in screens, or if you're playing even 3s or 2s, whatever the case may be, you're gonna play someone that will force you to guard the perimeter. Even if you think you're safe and you can just sit paint, it doesn't work like that. Even in rec, if you're playing a 2-3, your teammates are gonna be wondering why you're not helping on screens at all, and then they're just getting absolutely obliterated in a 2-on-1 all game. It's just basketball. If you can't guard the perimeter in a versatile way at all, you're kind of a cone. It's the same way that someone that can't guard the interior at all is kind of a cone, but they can be protected a little bit, in my opinion. Now, we'll talk about that in a different sense, because I think interior defense in this game is actually just insanely bad as far as the balancing of the value of the rating itself. But perimeter defense in total, I think it's extremely important to have, not to mention it's something that is going to transition you into being a really good lockdown. And I would just say the reason that it's up here is that it's a little bit more of a staple in everybody's build, more than something like dunk or ball handle or speed with ball or driving lay is, where, like I said, these are more specialty ratings where you're a little bit more of a specialist player when you have them. Perimeter defense is something that I think everybody needs to have, period. But it's not something that's a crazy dominating factor. You don't enforce your will on somebody, besides the fact that obviously you can contest shots really good, you can stay in front of people really well with your lateral quickness. All of that included, I think it deserves to be here at number 7. That's my personal take on it. Now, like I said, driving dunk, it feels like it's in a new place. Maybe it's just because I've been on a new build with that 610 that I'm on, and maybe it's because I am in the Pro-Am more than I'm in 3s with it. I'm not gonna lie, when I'm in 3s, it's a little bit disappointing because, again, people can just kind of sit paint. It's a more condensed court and it's not a big deal, and you're hunting 3-pointers more often, whereas on Pro-Am and Rec and anything like that, a 5v5, a bucket is a bucket. You're just here to get points, period. Whereas, like I said, 3v3, it's I don't know, it's so much more 3-hunt oriented, so driving dunk always just feels a little bit less important on that court. But as I mentioned, between driving contact dunk meters and the fact that you can still get really good dunks with 65 with athletic hangs off 1, quick drops are back in the game, quick drops off 1 for starter 3-rep people. So overall, there's a lot of different varieties of, I would say, value of the driving dunk ratings, and from all the way from 65 up to 96, there actually is some value to it. And like I said, I've turned a new leaf when it comes to the driving dunk stuff. I think I can see the value in it 100%. You do need to mix in the driving layup game into your game a little bit. You can't just be 100% a dunker, and that's what the comments have been trying to tell me for a while, and I just didn't want to hear it. But it's something that I've come around to, I should say. And, at the end of the day, some people have to admit their wrongs, and that's me. I'm admitting that I was wrong about driving dunk, and I think it belongs pretty high on this list at number 8. So, moving along, we have, we'll come up to the driving layup to talk about that in a second, because I was just kind of mentioning it. But we have ball handle, speed with ball. So these are in a weird spot, because obviously when it comes to ball handle and unpluckable, some people are very frustrated. Like, unpluckable and just ball handle in general don't seem to be doing a crazy amount in terms of protecting the ball. But obviously if you dribble the ball in 70 ball handle versus 95, you're gonna feel a pretty big difference. I mean, let's be real, bro. Like, obviously that's something that is to be factored in, and not to mention too, obviously, all of these ratings right here between dunk, ball handle, speed with ball, driving layup, they're all animation based. You're going to get animations with these, and obviously when it comes to the ball handle, speed with ball, those are the major driving points of what we're trying to get at. Speed with ball giving you dribble styles, ball handle giving you all the sigs that you're going to need between sig size ups, escape moves, hezzies, crossovers, behind the back, all that stuff. So it's actually a very valuable rating. You may even argue it's a little bit underrated, but I think everybody's going to argue that some ratings on here are underrated. So we have it at number 9. I think it makes sense. And then speed with ball, once again, between Magic dribble style, Kyrie dribble style, you know, even normal dribble style for the 40 speed with ball. I think all of them are extremely important. So there's a lot of variety to it, all the way from 40 to 90. And that's why we have it on the top half of the list. Now, right here, we have the dividend of exactly where the halfway point is on the list. So we have driving layup in that about 50th percentile. So driving lay, I think it's a really good rating. I think it's maybe not as useful as some people may want you to think it is, but for the specialists out there that really want to utilize this in their game, I think thresholds of around like 70 to 80 to maybe high 80s, like 88, I think that's a really good threshold to hit in terms of what you want to get out of your build. And for the people that really want to be a really accessory type player and have this type of really flash to them and have something that's very different than others in this game, I think driving layup's a big deal. Between floaters, scoops, everything as far as the gathers. I won't say like gathers are extremely important though. I think when you're a layup guy, you're looking a lot more at floaters and scoops, and then like maybe X button lays. I don't think you're as invested into the euros, hops, and spins like dunkers are, in my opinion. I think those are a lot more gather oriented, that you want to really be like chaining into dunks with those. But regardless, driving layup can obviously help you in terms of just making generally bad shot attempts as well. You could argue that some driving dunk, contact dunk attempts are bad shot attempts as well though. So I know driving layup has the stigma to it where it's like, you know, it bails people out for bad shots, but to be fair, dunk also does that too. And you know, you just got to know your own way. Like whether people critique you for how you play with it or not, that's, you know, not even worth discussing in my opinion. Obviously driving, I know this sounds like a big tangent obviously, right? But driving layup is very effective, and just because people say it's, you know, about hitting contested shots and stuff like that, or difficult shots like maybe even floaters for instance, I think that's the thing. Floaters and scoops get kind of respected, whereas like X button layups that just help you make contested ones, they don't get respected. But if you have it in your build and you know that your build is capable of doing it, by all means, go for it. I mean, you see people cheesing with the mid-range 98 and the standing dunk, crazy dunk meters, and, you know, obviously threes. Like, I mean, everything is cheese in its own way. So anyway, moving along to the bottom half of the list now. So our next 4 are very big man oriented. We have pass accuracy that can still be, you know, point guard oriented, and obviously strength can still very much so be a lock badge or a lock type thing to go for in this game. And obviously, let's talk about strength first. This is going to be something that you want to have on any defender in this game, and also can still be the same case for, like, let's say big men, or let's say even people that want to be more of a slashing type point guard for that matter. I mean, bulldozer, we have box out beast, all types of different badges that are related to strength, a movable enforcer being the biggest one in my opinion, and also just playing bumpy on ball defense. I think strength goes a long way. It stops you from getting those crazy like physical handles, bulldozer animations to happen to you. I will say though, I'm not going to say that entirely. I have like gold and movable enforcer on the 7-footer, and when you play against an ISO player that has bulldozer, it will still happen regardless of your badge, in my opinion. I think it just pops every now and then. I found that you can actually jump out of those and like get block animations on that type of an animation happening to you. So I don't even think that animation period is like a broken thing in the game by any means. I think it's actually very easy to defend. And, you know, it's also counterintuitive to say that strength doesn't matter on the defensive end of it, because obviously strength is what's allowing you to do that on the offensive end of it. So just because you have strength doesn't mean that's going to, like, you know, trump everybody's strength, because obviously, let's say you're going for a box out with 90. Well, what if the guy that you're playing against also has 90 and he has half box out beast too? I mean, things can counteract each other. It's not, you know, the garbage steal versus ball handle of this game where obviously steal just dominates any level of ball handle as long as it's high, and it doesn't matter if they have a high ball handle to counteract it. Again, strength can counteract itself on offensive and defensive end. So moving along to the pass accuracy, we have a rating that obviously is very point guard oriented, but also can be very big man oriented too. So with the outlet passes, obviously like 92 pass accuracy for the Hoff break starter, 91 gives you things like gold needle and silver bailout, 89 gives you the Tyrese Halliburton. All of these different thresholds that are really important to hit if you want to be a point guard or a center, or obviously just a standard level of pass accuracy that you kind of want out of your locks. I've advocated for Tonic's like driving lay lock, we called it, where it only has 60 pass accuracy, and I've seen it to be even capable, in my opinion, of playing the game. It's not great though, I will tell you that much. So that's why I do still value pass accuracy at like maybe a 75, 77 threshold at kind of generally bare minimum, except for rare instances. And then besides that, if you want to be an elite passer, I think 89 is the threshold you at least want to hit. That Halliburton pass style is extremely good, and then anything past that, I would say not to go any higher than 95, maybe 96 if you really want Hoffdimer, but it starts getting into a unreasonably not valuable rating like to hit anymore when you get past that 92 area, I would say. 95 though can be fire 100% if you're a big man with that touch passer, and obviously like, you know, the Hoff break starter, all that stuff that's included. And speaking of big man stuff, we have defensive and offensive rebound right here. I value defensive rebound a little bit more just because these are the ones that you have to get. O boards are like extra, you know, I would say it's very nice to get them, but they're not necessary. D boards are what kills a possession on, you know, the other team's opposing offensive possession. You need it to stop their possession generally, unless it's through steals and, you know, turnovers and stuff like that. But for the most part, you need defensive rebounds on your court, and you need more of them as well. On offensive rebound, you really only need one guy on the court, in my opinion, that needs to O-board, and that's going to be your center. And generally, sometimes you don't even have to. So you could argue O-board could belong a little bit lower on this list, but most of the stuff that we have remaining here is not exactly like super important, if you ask me. But we'll get to some that are actually still very good. But regardless, I mean, rebounding is very important in this game. That's just a given. And obviously, with the way shooting is pretty difficult in this game, it is nice to be able to control the boards as a team, or just in general, you as a player, for whether you want to be a back end, like a power forward, a center, or even if you want to contribute as a lock. I think it's a very valuable thing to be able to be versatile. And if you have D-board on your build, you can switch on to the bigs generally pretty often, because we'll talk about interior D once again, not even having to be very necessary for you to guard the interior. All right, so on to our next four. From 16 to 19, we have post control, block, vertical, and acceleration. Now, I still value all of these ratings in some sense as well. So don't sit here and think that just because they're at the bottom quadrant, like the bottom, you know, 25% of this list, that they're bad. I don't even like think that personally. Post control can be very elite in its own sense, between, you know, being a true post scorer where you're dominating on the interior with drop steps and post spins, or just in general the fact that it's locked behind getting badges like hook specialist or post fade phenom as well. So it's a very useful attribute rating, in my opinion, that can also even still give you unpluckable too. So while that isn't exactly the most valuable thing at all times, getting 92 post control and how cheap the attribute rating itself is, it goes a long way. And obviously I didn't like value the whole like is the rating cheap to get or not a whole lot with this list. I know I did with the little caveat on like stamina, but that's about it. Like anything else, we're just talking about is the rating good or not, period. And you still need stamina again, so I don't want to go all over that again. But anyway, post control, very good attribute rating between, you know, like I said, resisting plucks, obviously like dominating people on the interior, and then to even still allow you to score from the outside on the post as well. So moving along, we have block. This is going to be very good for obviously chase downs, pairing that in with vertical as well. And obviously with vert, we're also talking about being able to get like dunks on top of that, and you need vert to be able to get certain dunk packages, obviously contact dunks as well. And also vertical helps with rebounding, shot blocking, chase downs, anything like that. So don't sleep on vert. Just because it's low on the list, again, like I said, it absolutely is still a very valuable attribute rating, 100%. And it just depends on who you are. Obviously as a point guard or even a perimeter defensive lockdown where you're not even worried about going for blocks, you're just more so playing like zone-esque kind of, and depending on your like bigs and corners to play the interior defense for you, and your job is to not let anybody past you, you don't really need vertical on perimeter lockdown builds. Like, you know, you guys hopefully get what I'm saying with that. Obviously, there could be such a thing as a pure lock where you want to be able to hold your own and follow your own guy into the paint, but you can still play as a team in some situations with no vertical on your lockdown and be able to just defend the perimeter. You know, challenge shots really well, play steals, easy. Anyway, moving along, we have acceleration. This is going to be a lot more point guard oriented, but I will even still say, playing on like anything that wants to handle the ball, acceleration is really nice. Not to mention you need this for levels of fast feet, where 77 is for gold, 74 is for silver, and I forget what bronze is. I believe it might be 71, 72, something like that. But either way, acceleration, it's been a kind of hot topic in the community where people are deeming this to be a useless attribute rating, and that's why I do have it at 19, because it's not exactly a super important rating to be had, but I think people are still sleeping on this a little bit. Not like crazy, but I still think it factors into your dribbling a little bit more than people are giving it credit for, and certain dribble styles it varies on. We've already talked about that in a previous video if you guys want to check it out. pretty much to sum it all up, the video's title was The Truth About Acceleration in 2K24. And, you know, obviously that's where we answer that. So anyway, if you want to check that out, feel free to. Moving along to our final 3 ratings right here. We're going to have interior defense at the number 20 spot. We are going to have close shots at the number 21 spot. And then we're going to have free throw at number 22. So free throw just happens to end up here by default, unfortunately. You know, I still value this as a rating 100%. Even though me as a pure inside on most of my builds, I generally only get this to 50 because if you go past that, it starts forcing up your mid-range and close shot, and I don't want that personally. So I just kind of find my way to 50 free throw. It's so cheap though and so valuable. So if you're anybody that's actually like on a build that has shooting on it, and you know that's not your agenda to stop your mid-range three-pointer from going up and stuff like that, absolutely put this high. I vouch for that 100% because this year's free throws are actually pretty hard in general. You don't just auto green if you like hit it properly. It generally is going to be giving you whites and stuff like that. So the higher you can get this, the less RNG BS you're going to have to deal with. Besides that, though, interior D and close shot both being low, you might wonder, how is that a thing, Laker? Like, I mean, they counteract each other, so how are they both low? Well, you see, that's actually kind of how it works, because if close shot is bad, that means interior D is not exactly very useful. So close shots are very bad in this game, and if you're trying to mash down low through just standing layups, they're terrible. They're so terrible in this game. I really should even put close shot to 22. I'm not going to do that, though, because obviously that's being a little bit extreme, but close shots are definitely the worst attribute rating you could possibly go for in this game. If you want to be a masher in 2K24, you're going to be having a tough time. It's my opinion. If you're going with a super tall big, super tall bigs have been nerfed really hard in my opinion anyway, so like 7'3", 7'2s. They're so slow, they're not functional. The tallest height I've seen someone actually be able to be good at is maybe 7'1", and generally it's just 7-footer. So the issue is, at that height, there's nobody you can really dominate in the mash game anyway. So if you want to be a dominant masher, you have to be such a absolute camel on like just the speed. I don't even know if that's a good reference. I don't know. But anyway, what I'm trying to get at here is, if you want to be Shaq in the paint, it has to be through standing dunks. You can't be a masher in 2K24. That's my true personal opinion. And again, subsequently off that, interior defense is very, you know, not useful, because you don't need it to be able to defend the interior in this game. It's already a problem that the dunk meter isn't based off of like an opponent's interior defense. It's purely positioning. It's so bad. I don't like that as a game factor at all, if you ask me, but it is what it is. We're making the most of this as far as me playing on a slasher and stuff, so you know, it is what it is. But like, I feel bad for the 7-footers and stuff out there with like 92 block and 84 interior, which is exactly what I have as my 7-footer for that matter. And I'm not saying because I struggle with defending the interior by any means. I'm just saying, like, I'm dunk metering on people that have great interior defense, but it's because they're maybe late droppers. They're coming out of a position that's not like a good guarding position by 2K's logic. And in this game, you can be 6 foot, like you can be 6'4", 6'6", something like that, with a 25 interior, 25 block, and you'll guard the paint on a dunk meter just as good as the 7-footer with 99 on both those ratings. It's really bad as far as they're balancing on that, and not to mention the wall up defense on close shots, as we've already just mentioned, is extremely good. Doing it for, like, you know, good position, good guarding positioning, as far as like people going for just regular driving dunks. It's really dominant. Like, interior defense does not have to be extremely high in this game for you to function that well. So that's our take on everything as far as attribute ratings in 2K24. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new to our noties, all that good stuff. And like always, try to one to 2,000 likes. If you made it to the end of the video, put your favorite attribute rating in 2K24 down in the comments. You could even put anything niche, like if it's post control or something weird like that, or like strength, because you maybe are really in love with that Hoffa movable lockdown that you made or something like that, or your driving lay just lock, or your driving lay point guard. Whatever you want to do, just put your favorite attribute rating in the comments to show your support to me all the way through. And other than that, take it easy, man. Peace.